2 of our Star Wars talk. In the last episode, we kind of colored you in on how we enjoy Star Wars today, or don't, whatever.
Yeah.
We discovered that I'm way less of a Star Wars fan than you are, and you're not that big of a Star Wars fan to begin with. So there's that. But on this one, let's talk, because a lot of people are talking. The birds are chirping, Robbie. There's a lot of people out there playing this new Star Wars game. This episode will be coming out, I believe, in the month of release, hopefully. So it's semi-topical. Now, I haven't. What was the first one called again?
Jedi Fallen Order.
Jedi Fallen Order. So I downloaded that game on, I believe, Game Pass. Tried it out for the first 2 hours. This is like maybe 2 years ago. I seem to remember there being some sort of space train that I was on.
Oh yes. Is that where you ended?
I think so. I think I ended there.
That's like the opening scene.
Well, here's the deal. And in the last part, we went over this. Like, almost nothing about Star Wars excites me. Mm-hmm. Like, I see it, and it's like an involuntary reaction. Like, I just kind of roll my eyes or whatever. I know that there's still some good stuff out there. I still have some fondness for it.
We talked about the lightsaber sound effects, Brian. Did you not hear me when we were talking about
every word of it, and I was glued to it, and I agree wholeheartedly with my bone marrow. I agree with you.
Thank you.
It's a great sound effect, iconic. But yeah, when a new Star Wars game comes out, and so for that, the last one, Fallen Order, it's on Game Pass. I don't have a lot of excuses not to try it, so I tried it.
Yeah,
did not hold my attention because I wanted to do something else. That's my main point. When it comes Star Wars, I want to do something else.
What was it? I would really like to know what the something else is that you did. So I went and made a Hot Pocket instead.
Yeah, I ate a lukewarm corn dog. I read several old National Geographics that I found in a box.
Read the works of Alfred Lord Tennyson.
Yeah. I did literally anything else. But I know that game was good, and I know that people love it, and I know the influences of the game. Like, it's been described to me as an Uncharted game with Star Wars, and that was from the hour and a half to 2 hours that I played. That's the vibe I got. It controlled like an Uncharted game, and it tried to tell its story in that same way.
Souls-like stuff too, isn't it? That's
okay.
Important part
So
of it.
that.
God forbid a game come out modernly that does not have Souls-like influences in it.
It's or you have to, if it's a PC game, it has to have deck building. You have to have cards in your game. Right. So. That's actually something I wanted to talk about because I didn't know that the first one has Souls stuff in it. But I know the second one that's come out, it's been almost like bombarded. Like, no, this is like a Souls game, but Star Wars.
Yeah. And accessible. That I'll talk about it.
Okay. So yeah, the first one, 2 hours, like I said earlier, I believe in the last part, like I'm probably not going to play this new one anytime soon. If I do, it won't be for a little while down the road, because I would rather eat lukewarm corn dogs than have anything to do with Star Wars.
I had to go hose down my driveway. There's a septic tank that needed to be cleared out. Yeah.
There's a lot of important endeavors that I need to get done out there. Like watch more Akira Kurosawa movies for the 100th time.
Why play Star Wars? You just watch Alien Fortress again.
Exactly. Or Ron, or any number of better movies that he made. And there are many. Anyway, so let's jump into it.
How spoilery am I getting in this talk?
So I don't give a shit. I don't care. You're not going to spoil anything for me. You might spoil something for the people out there. So let's just say right now, if you don't want the story spoiled and you haven't played this game in we'll say 3 to 4 weeks when this episode comes, maybe skip this one.
I'll keep it to mid to moderate spoilers.
That's fine.
I won't spoil literally everything.
So spoiler warning. You've been warned.
Good warning.
So here we go. Take it away with this fucking game here, Robbie.
So the new game, Jedi Survivor, is more or less, actually it's more, a direct sequel in gameplay and in story to the Jedi Fallen Order. The story takes place after episode 6, after episode 3, but before episode 4, New Hope. So This is when the Empire has won. They have dominated everything. The Jedi have been crushed and all but eliminated.
Forced into hiding.
And you play a Jedi who has been forced into hiding. He's at the very beginning of his training. He's very young. His name is Cal Kestis, and he is a very, very dull and boring protagonist who, like a lot of Star Wars Jedi, are just dull and boring, stoic, good, slightly impetuous, but largely kind of just a binary, always do the right thing kind of stuff that used to be in media all the time and now really isn't so much.
Right.
So if you're playing this game, you're not playing it because this is a super compelling protagonist that you're playing as. In terms of the gameplay, actually, let me start with the graphics and the setting a little bit. Graphically, this is one of the best looking games that there is, period. The graphics are not quite as good. I played it on PlayStation 5. They're not quite as good as the best graphics I've seen on PlayStation 5, which would either be Returnal or more likely Horizon Forbidden West. So that's about as good as it gets. But they're still very, very good. And I've seen screenshots of what the game looks like on PC, and if you can get it to run,
and
it looks amazing.
You're playing this on PS5 then?
I am playing the sequel on PS5. Okay. I played the other game on PS5 as well.
Gotcha.
But I'm in a basically a gamer chat room, and all of us are playing the game at the same time on different platforms. And the PC experience seems to be the best experience. Again, if you can get it to work.
Yeah.
Because there have been significant bugs with the PC port of the game. So much so that if you look at the review scores, the console review scores are like in the high 80s, low 90s.
Yeah.
And the PC scores are like in the 50s or 60s.
So I've heard that rather than if you're playing the game and a technical issue creeps up, rather than the game like crashing you out to and I'm sure it does that too, but rather than like crashing you back out to Windows or whatever, I've heard that it shows like a sign card comes up and says like,
yes.
Hey, this game is going to start sucking, so play at your own risk. Yeah, basically. Which is amazing. I've never heard of a game do that. That's amazing.
So again, I've heard of that as well.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it because I'm on console,
right.
but I've seen screenshots of that. And then I'll just say my brother is playing it on PC, and sometimes he can't get the game to just boot.
Shout out Chris, here you go.
Hey bro,
Misa hates self.
Yeah, then that's what he's saying when he's trying to boot the game up,
yeah,
and he can't do it.
Right.
And he will complain to the like, I'll be playing the game, and he's messaging me trying to play the game, and he just can't get them on.
He sent me, your brother sent me screenshots, and this is to piggyback on what you're saying. It's strikingly beautiful. It's a crazy,
it's incredible,
crazy good looking video game for sure.
And he's running it on the highest end hardware, or almost highest end hardware you can have. He has, I believe, a 3090 video card.
Yeah.
So it's not a performance issue why he's having these issues. It's just technical. They've announced as much that it's technical problems. They've released 3 patches.
Yeah.
So far, there's a 4th patch that's supposed to come out today.
It's a modern video game, so God forbid they finish it before releasing it. That's not in the cards anymore.
Well, at least on the PC ports, and this is really like I'm a PC master race guy. I've been like that. That's one of the themes of the show, is that I'm a PC gamer at heart.
Yeah.
I will
theme for him. Theme for him for the show. I think PC gaming is.
The official position of the Midlife Krisis show is that we are a PC centric, and and everybody that you see on the show prefers PCs over consoles.
I have an MSX too. That's where I go with PCs.
So the problem though is that because Microsoft and PlayStation certify releases, and PlayStation is kind of particular about it before the games come out, the problems that you see on PC just don't exist really on console because Sony won't let it.
They won't let it release. Exactly.
Yeah, so they're getting these games out on console, and then they're just patching the bejesus out of them on PC. So this game, Jedi Survivor, I'll talk about the game and my experience with the game, which has been mostly to largely positive. However, if you're watching this out there and you can't boot up the game because you're on PC, I see you. I hear it. I've gotten messages from my brother about it. I'm not trying to ignore that. It exists. Playing the game is an important part of liking the game. I understand all that. So if you can get the game to boot up on PC, that's probably the best experience that you're going to get. But it's not a given that you're going to be able to boot up the game on PC. That's not an automatic. So, we get back to the game?
Yeah, let's get in there.
The gameplay it's semi-open world. You have a few different planets that you can travel to, and then the planets themselves are kind of open world.
Let me ask you this question. One of many to come. Compared to the first one in this series, open worldness, is it more or less?
It's identical.
Okay.
Well, there's more in the sense that just geographically there's more square footage. But the actual openness of it is the exact same. And usually it takes the version of this. You'll get some quest, and then you're in a large open world area, and then you will, this is sort of like The Last of Us does this too. you're in a corridor. There's only one way to go, but it's presented in an open way, I guess. Okay. So it looks like you're in an open world, but really, if you want to get to the MacGuffin at the end of the rainbow or whatever, then you've got to go the way that the game is telling you to go. And then, since we're throwing out sort of influences of the game, there's a lot of we coined this term on our last show. We said Metroid-like.
Metroid-like,
yeah, Metroid-like. So there are Metroid. Go ahead, Brian. Do your bit about Metroid-likes.
I want to call them Metroid-likes. I got no bit, but I have this. There we go.
That's a good bit.
I got that.
I think Jar Jar agrees with us.
Yeah, I know he does. He's a very agreeable guy, for sure.
When you hate yourself, you just...
yeah, it's easier.
Yeah. All right, so it's got Metroid-like components to it where you'll get an ability, and then that ability unlocks you. It allows you to go to a new area, and then that area allows you to advance in the game. The first game did that. One really cool thing about the second game, and not all games do this, is that when you get to the second game, you have all these abilities that you got in the first game.
Yeah.
So if you're the developer, you're like, well, what the hell do we do? Do we strip them of the abilities to make them start over?
That's a Metroid problem.
Yeah.
And real quick, so playing all these Metroid games that I did for the previous Metroid episodes, that's how they handle that problem in a lot of those games, and it's offensive. Like in other M, well, I understand in Other M, which is the worst Metroid game. I do understand like where Samus is in terms of like, you know, her being like a kind of a student or whatever. But they tell you in the beginning of the game, like, here you have a ton of powers, but we're literally going to lock them from you, and we being like your bosses, Samus's like professors or whatever.
Professors.
When you go to a certain point in the game, then we're going to unlock this power for you. But meanwhile, this character, she's in peril constantly. It would probably make sense if like she's fighting all these like killer aliens to give her all her powers, because they're there and you just need to flip a fucking switch, and they don't. Other M is a piece of shit. So anyway, that's a tangent, but it relates to this Star Wars thing and how that is something that like I get it. Like that's hard to do. If you have a game where you have a bunch of powers, how do you explain it for the sequel?
And in Metroid Dread, which I just played, they had to build in a story narrative, which is like, oh, you got to this planet and your powers were sucked away from you, and now you got to spend the rest of the game.
That's usually how Metroid handles it.
Okay. In this game, they did what the fan service solution would be, which is they allow you to have all of your powers from the first game.
Okay.
And then they just built in new mechanics and new things that you sort of add on to it.
This is a good idea.
So in practice, it's awesome.
Yeah. Because
you're in the first game, you're a Jedi kid. You're just barely learning how the Force works.
Yeah.
You go through the game, you're learning Force push, and you're learning how to use a lightsaber. The second game, you're further along. You already know how to Force push. You already know how to learn the lightsaber. So now you're learning different stances with the lightsaber, and you're learning different abilities with Force push and Force pull. And you can lift up bigger objects and just do different things. So you actually feel the progression of your character over time. And this is such an important feature of games that are direct sequels, or if you're doing a direct sequel. And as much as I love Horizon Forbidden West, they didn't really do that as well. They made you learn a lot of the stuff that you could do in the first game again.
Right.
And when it's a direct sequel, if you're playing the games back to back, or if you remember the first game at all, you end up saying like, what the hell? Like, why? There needs to be a really good narrative explanation.
Yeah.
And then just like what you said with Metroid, oftentimes that narrative explanation fails.
Yeah.
But then even if you could suspend disbelief from a story perspective, it's so much more involving. Like, we've talked about like the Mass Effect trilogy before.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest things about that is the progression over time. Or we talked about Baldur's Gate once. In the original Baldur's Gate game, you go from level 1 to level 20. In the second Baldur's Gate game, you go from level 20 to level 40 roughly.
Yeah.
Seeing that progression, your character gets stronger over time. It's a really important feature of these.
Well, it makes you feel like you're investing your time wisely. Which, like, you can make an argument for all the you normals out there that, like, you know, playing a video game isn't the best way to invest your time. But we're not going to have that argument.
Yeah, that's not what we do here.
If you're going to play those games,
yeah.
And we will, like, it is really nice to have a gesture that says, like, you know, we're following you along with your progress, and here you go.
Well, and also narrative, like, a key feature of the Jedi experience from almost all the Star Wars movies, from Luke Skywalker in the original prequels to Anakin in the middle, or the original movies and Anakin in the prequels, and then Rey in the sequels, you always have somebody, and they're getting better over time. You have a Jedi who's learning their powers, and then they gain more powers and more powers as the movies progress.
Right.
So here, you're doing exactly that. You gain some powers in the original game, and then you expand upon those powers in the sequel. And it feels really good. It feels like you're getting stronger over time. That means something to me as a player.
Yeah.
The other thing that happens is the way that the gameplay mechanics are in terms of combat. It's very, very interesting. And I want to compare it to Metroid a little bit. So each enemy that you have has like a block meter, and then when you hit them, they'll block. But the stronger you get, the more quickly you're able to get their block meter destroyed, almost like a shield, like in Halo, something like that. And then you actually do actual damage to them. So in practice, this again, it makes you feel stronger and stronger because there are enemies at the beginning of the game that'll take you 5 or 6 whacks just to get their shield down, basically their block meter, and then you can actually start doing damage to them. By the end of the game, those same enemies, you just hit them once, the block meter goes away, and then you hit them a second time to actually kill them. So you're fighting the same enemy, but the enemy feels weaker over time as you continue to expand your powers.
I fucking so dare you to step at me. I fucking so dare you to step at me, dude. I am fucking ready to fucking fuck. It's real fucking simple, dude. It's simple. When I listen to my music and it makes me want to fucking fight, you better back off. And if you don't back off, be prepared to step at me, dude. Fucking step at me, get fucked. Fucking step at me, dude. Fucking steps at me, fucking white ass hot, fucking thinking he's the hot shot of this fucking house. Well, newsflash, you're not. This fucking music makes me want to fucking fight. Simple. Fucking step at me, dog. Fucking, oh, I want you to step at me so fucking hard, dude. I will fucking sock you. The fucking arrogance of this fucking guy. Fucking step. I fucking want you to step, dude. Fucking step. I'm so fucking sick and tired of all this disrespect in my own fucking house, dude.
The other thing that the game did that is sort of in this line of thinking is that you have characters that were actual boss fights in the original game, specifically like difficult droid characters. And then in the second game, they're just basically like henchmen out there.
Okay.
Because you've progressed so much that they put up almost no challenge to you at all. Even though in the first game, it was like the fourth boss that you fight is some epic droid.
So this is something that Platinum Games does a lot in their Bayonetta series, where you'll fight like a giant gnarly boss. And then just like you're saying, like 7 hours in, like this, it's a little pissant that that you have to fight 3 of.
And that's really cool because again, you're feeling like
you feel like you're getting
character
stronger.
growth and arc and all of that. So that's all really good. Another gameplay element that I could sort of give or take is the specific Souls-like references. The way they handle levels in the game is that you progress and you have like basically what your souls are in a Souls-like game. And then you use those to purchase skill upgrades. You don't actually have levels. You just get additional skills over time.
Yeah.
But then if you die and somebody kills you, it's just like Souls. Your soul stays there and then you have to go kill that enemy. But they've made it infinitely more accessible than what FromSoft does. Because first of all, if you gain enough points to gain a skill level, but you haven't actually bought the skill yet, you still bank the points. You don't lose the points. So when you die, the only thing that you lose is your progress towards the next point. And if you die and then you can't get your soul back, that would be basically what you would forfeit. Let
me jump in here real quick. And this because it's question time. As someone who's played at least one Souls game from beginning to end, so you know what that feels like in terms of having the stakes. I've played all of the Souls games except for Dark Souls 3, and I'm right there with you in terms of like I like that a lot. In this game, or another example I'll use is the Neo series, which is another Souls-like game where they lower the stakes or make it, or as you put it, make it more accessible. Do you appreciate the FromSoft approach where there are more stakes, which gives you like a heightened sense of challenge and like I better not fuck this up? Or do you appreciate more this new style where you're getting a small hit of this, but it's kind of for babies?
That's a really, really good question. I have a really good answer for you. So I respect more the FromSoft approach. And the reason why I respect it more is because it's, in my opinion, somewhat counterintuitive. Anytime you're making a game that is designed to be more difficult for the player and you're doing things where you're actually punishing the player for dying, that just imagine you're in a room designing a video game and the pitch is, okay, when the player dies, we're going to make it even harder for them. So fuck them.
Right.
We're going to take away half of their life, and then they can't get that back. That's just so counterintuitive.
Well, it's counterintuitive. Yes, it's fundamentally counterintuitive. That's fine. But it's also, and this is why I love that series so much, and I think why it's really, with Elden Ring, become like a major mainstream series now, is that for so many years, like literally like 20 years now, video game developers, like, they think of their players as dummies. They're like, oh, they just can't do this stuff. And here comes From and says like, no, we're actually going to trust the player a little more. So we're going to design our game based around that core concept. And that's why I appreciate it so much. Is like they're basically giving me the keys to the Ferrari.
So that's basically what I was going to say, why I respect their approach more, because even though it's counterintuitive, they committed to it anyway. They don't have difficulties in those games, right? It would be really easy to just say, oh, you can pause. And that's what the Star Wars game. You can pause the game, tone down the difficulty. A lot of modern AAA games do that.
Yeah.
Not FromSoft games. And the benefit is, and what I think other developers missed, and this is why FromSoft has become so influential, is that there is this incredible tension while you're walking around those worlds.
Yes.
Because you can die at any moment.
It all matters. Everything you do in the game matters. There's no fluff.
Matters.
It all matters.
And you have to punish your players for them to have that feeling. And I had my headphones on, and I'm playing it 11 o'clock at night, and I'm crawling through these dank, dark, decrepit monasteries or whatever in the games, and you're scared, not because of a jump scare like a horror game, but because of you're just afraid of death. And because of that, when you actually get through it, the feeling of fulfillment and satisfaction, all of that is much, much better. So at a base level, I respect what FromSoft is doing more, because I just think it's harder and it takes more commitment on behalf of the developer to not do the easy thing.
Well, and it takes more. I mean, they're well established now, but that first game, like the balls that it
the
took,
balls is
the
right.
balls that
the
it took to make that game,
absolutely.
where it's like you have to come meet us in our world to enjoy this.
That's
experience.
exactly right. You have to come to where we are.
Yes,
and it's great when a developer can do that, because they usually can't. The publisher will step in at some point and be like, "No, we're not doing that."
Especially today, like the next time we record, we're going to do this episode because I brought it up so many times. But one of the reasons why I love the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, and why I say it's the most creative era in video games is one main reason: it's risk. If a DVD costs 60 cents to produce, which it did, and your return is going to be anywhere between $39.99 and $59.99 on this thing that you spent 40 cents to produce, you can take risks. Demon's Souls was never going to come out in America because Sony was like, they won't want it. Atlas had to step in, took that risk, did a low print run because it cost them, very cheap to produce Blu-rays. Not talking about the licensing and blah, blah, blah. I know there's more money there. I get it. Yeah. But making an optical media thing versus making like a big expensive cartridge, or in today's standards, like coming up with the roadmap and all the money that you put into that. Yeah. Fuck all that trash. If you can make a really cool, unique experience, and this is where indie games, like this is where I will extend respect to indie games. They're just putting something out on Steam so they can take risks. AAA games, and I understand, I totally logically understand this. When hundreds of millions of dollars are on the table, yes, right. You have to play it safe. I get it. Yeah. But that's one area of modern video games where like I'm really tuned out on is nobody outside of the indie space or smaller publishers takes risks anymore. And From Software is the company that took a major risk, and it's paid off in spades.
And maybe taking new risks. They could have just done Soul something forever. Yeah. And then they announced in December their next game is a Mech Warrior sequel, a mech game, and everybody's like, well, what the hell's that going to be? Even that is kind of risky because they're going away from.
They're going back to their old franchise that they made like 7 games of, but none of them were hits.
Yes,
like the Souls games were all like building up towards hits, and then Elden Ring was a massive, gigantic 20 million seller super hit.
Yes. So then on the topic of risk, Jedi Survivor does not take risks at all.
Boo.
Okay, so it borrows a lot. It borrows some Souls-like stuff. We talked about the Metroid-like features. So it's borrowing, and it's doing so in a competent way. I don't mind how it implemented the Souls features, but you just have to know what you're getting yourself into. You play that game. You're going through the narrative. First of all, you have to have a stomach for Star Wars narrative.
Yeah,
which not everybody has. So that's the first thing, because you're definitely not playing it to feel like at any moment that you can die. You're just not doing that. You're just pushing the buttons, feeling cool being a Jedi and killing droids and all this other stuff, and just kind of going through it and then and hitting the story beats. They've implemented Souls-like features, but they definitely did not commit to the uncompromising nature of a Souls-like game.
Right.
Okay. Now, another thing that the game did that I do like, though, is that in contrast to the first Jedi Fallen Order game, this game has all sorts of Easter eggs or allusions to the original Star Wars movies that I actually found to be pretty cool. There's a sequence where you're going through an area remember in Empire where Luke is walking towards Darth Vader and it's like turns red and he's in that chamber, and then there's like fog effects around. They have something that's like similar to that. It's not the exact same, but it's that. And then there were a number of other times where I saw them doing something that it was like, oh, they would just watch Return of the Jedi, and then they're like, oh, let's put something that looks like that.
But then you mentioned though in the time-wise that this is right before or ish before New Hope, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So from a timeline narrative standpoint, this kind of all makes sense.
Yes, and in the Easter eggs that they do, they're just allusions, right, to the Star Wars movies. They just want it to give an aesthetic feel to something that you might remember from seeing in those movies.
Which, of course, they're going to do that. This is a Star Wars thing.
Except
all
that
Star Wars things need to do this shit.
Absolutely, but they didn't do it all in the first game. The first game was wholly unique that way.
Okay.
And then in this new game, I'm at least 5 times while I was playing, it was like, oh yeah, this reminds me of this scene from New Hope when you're in the Jawa or whatever, and there's just a lot of that.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's all cool. Every time I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this reminds me of a Star Wars movie. Good job, guys.
Yeah, you've done what you needed to do. You put Star Wars on the box, and it's kind of Star Wars.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Okay, so also, so you were talking about Star Wars music. So I want to give a special shout out to whoever the music designer was for both Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. That person is a musical genius as far as I'm concerned. The first game has the best Star Wars music in any Star Wars game I've ever played ever. Mm-hmm. It was so good, in fact, that I actually looked up to see. I was like, did they just take John Williams' music and like license it for this game?
Yeah.
And they didn't. It's an original composition, but it sounds so Star Wars like that it actually fooled me into thinking it might be John Williams. The second game is the same as well.
Yeah.
So when you're going through and you're just hearing the music when you're climbing around the world or fighting people or whatever, it sounds like John Williams music. It's great. It sounds really good. So again, playing a Star Wars game, you want to feel like you're in the Star Wars world, and the music is a big part of that. And they hit an absolute home run on that. Okay. So now let's start talking about things that aren't so great. So one, the bugs. We covered it, but I'm mentioning it again because if you're a PC user, you literally can't play the game. So that's worth mentioning.
Let me jump in with that. So I've heard, if, like your brother, if you have it on a 30 series, you run into less problems than you do if you have a 40 series. Can you verify that?
No, I think actually what I heard, and I think what the developers have said, is that if you're on hardware below the 30 series, then you're more likely to be okay. Well, I think they said certain high-end hardware, so I don't know if they still consider a 30 series card to be high-end hardware.
It kind of sounds like they don't know.
Oh, they don't. Oh, I have to mention this about the bugs because it's so good. So first, you're right, they don't know. And I just read patch notes yesterday that said that they're still exploring problems with certain high-end configurations, and they mentioned high-end i9 card or i9 processors in particular. Most people who have a 30 series or better probably have an Intel i9 card with it, or a processor with it. So they just said they're still trying to figure that out. The other thing that they said that they fixed, this is so good, is that there's a boss fight that you have that's a very difficult boss fight, and it's about 2/3 of the way through the game, I'm gonna say. And apparently one of the bug fixes that they made was that boss fight can be impossible to beat.
Oh, cool. That's what you want.
So I don't know how it was impossible, if you just couldn't damage the boss, or like what the issue was there. I would like to think that like you would just get him to like 1% or whatever, but you just couldn't kill him.
So real quick, I'm playing a game called, and I want to shout it out here before I forget, but it's the sequel to Franco the Crazy Revenge, which is an obscure Polish Amiga game. It's called, the new one is called Skinny and Franco. And it's important because it's ultra violent, like just total dipshit tomfoolery, stuff that I love. But in this game, there's parts of the game where like your character will just like lock animation and he can't attack, and enemies can't attack him. So you just need to reset your game at that point. The reason I bring this up is that Franco and Skinny is made by a couple Polish heroes with no money. and this Star Wars game is made by fucking EA, which is like, I get it. I know modern video games have their patches, and this is the business now. I understand that.
Yeah.
And it's an unfortunate thing, but it's just the way that it is. But you would think, right, with Star Wars, EA, like the fact that this is like a major tentpole release, like they would have their shit together more than they do. And boy, don't they.
You might think that at some point a QA tester would encounter that boss fight and be like, hey guys,
No, this is how that went down.
We can't beat the boss.
Yeah. Hey, so the game broke when I was playing it, so we should fix that. And they're like, shut up. We're done. Moving on.
I know. If we fix that now, then we'll have to wait like 2 more weeks to ship. And this game's going to sell like 5 million units in that amount of time. So we've got a quarterly release schedule.
It's pretty egregious.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So I mentioned the bugs again, but I didn't experience that bug on that fight, but that fight sucks. So if I had, I might have broken my TV. Yeah. All right. So there are significant plot. Okay, when you play these games, you have to suspend disbelief, but there are some really annoying either plot holes or things that just don't make sense, or whatever. I'll just give one example, but there's at least 15 of these I could bring up. You have in the sequel, you have sidekick characters that sort of help you out while you're playing, and this is always sidekick characters are sort of gaming history is replete with problems with them.
Yeah.
Here, they do it the way most modern games do it, where you just kind of tell your sidekick character, hey, go kill this person over there, and then they do it, so you don't have to worry about them getting killed or anything. But one of the sidekick characters is basically like a witch, and she has special magical powers. And while you're sort of traversing towards the next objective, you'll come to these points where you basically tell her to create a grapple point for you. It's like, oh, hey, look at that. And she's like, oh, I'll take care of this. And then she makes a little grapple point that you can hook onto. But then at other points, she just doesn't do that, and you're expected to kind of go around and do whatever the gamey thing to do is, where you got to do some platforming, and it takes you out because it's like, hey, are you mad at me? Because we're just trying to get right here. Can you just create a grapple point for me right here instead of making me go around and do all this crazy stuff?
If they establish the character as having this ability to do that for
yes,
you, like
that's the thing. They've established that, so it's like, oh, great. So you could just do that, and we can climb up this mountain so much more quickly. So that's a little thing. Okay, now it's a video game, so you're supposed to do certain things. So you're supposed to.
They have to do shit in this way so that they could teach you something, and now your training wheels are off and go do the thing.
Right, but if you care, and I have a friend who cares a lot about that kind of stuff and notices it every time. I remember he was playing God of War, and you can't jump in God of War, or you can't like go over little. I don't know. There'll be like some rocks or something. You can't jump over them because it's just not on the path, and it like ruined the game for him because he's like, hey, why can't I just hop over these rocks? This is stupid. You know, and it just breaks immersion. Since you and I have been playing video games since the 80s, we're just sort of used to invisible walls and things like that.
It's a part of the package.
It's just a part of the package, which we're signing up for.
Yeah.
So it doesn't bother me as much. But since I've had him in my life, I now notice this stuff more than I used to. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of one example of it that's sort of a little annoying. Another thing is that they really create that character, that witch character, to be almost stronger than you as a Jedi are in some ways. And so you end up like, being cooler with her than you are with, like I'd rather play her than be a Jedi. And then I have to mention this too, because just narratively, it just doesn't make sense. And I thought enough of it to just complain to my friends about it. So in the game, in the first game, you're all together and you're like this band and you're going through the universe and you're doing stuff. And then when the second game starts, your group breaks up. And it's disappointing because it's like, oh, I thought we were guys on a mission and we're actually not that. So you start to kind of put your band back together. And then when you get with the witch character who you were close with in the first game, there's supposed to be the sentimental scene. You're by the campfire, you're kind of talking, and you, Cal Kestis, the protagonist, say to her, why did you leave? Why did we break up? And then she says, I needed to see the universe on my own terms. And I remember hearing that. I was like, what the hell does that mean? On my own terms? I don't know what that means.
Means gonna get some strange on the side.
Then it cuts back to you, or then it comes back to her, you, and you ask her, so what did you find out there in the universe? And then she goes,
strange.
That'd be better.
Yeah.
She says, I saw myself reflected in all the faces and people that are out there in the galaxy.
Oh.
And it reminded me of, I don't know if you've ever had any relationships like this when you were younger, but you ever know anybody in your life that just like talked in a way that was sort of poetic and flowery, but just didn't make any sense at all?
Nope. They would, they're not getting my time. They're not getting a second of my time, Uncle Bob. Continue.
I forgot who my audience was.
Yeah.
Who am I talking to here?
Oh, fucking badass.
So let me just say that I've had a time or two in my life where somebody has looked at me and said some shit that just didn't make any sense at all, but it's, like, sounds good. I think it was like, to use a dated reference for us, what was that? Was that movie of the superheroes? Like Jim Carrey was in it, and they're all like screwed up superheroes around the year 2000. Janine Garofalo was in it.
Mystery Men, right?
Right, and one of the characters in that movie, good call by you.
Well, it gave the world All Star by Smash Mouth. Of course, I'm going to remember
your
that.
theme song, right?
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, one of the characters in that movie does exactly that. The whole bit is they say a bunch of stuff that sounds like stoic mysticism, and it doesn't make any sense at all. So in this scene in Jedi Survivor, this person says that. I actually had recorded, I went back and replayed it because I was like, did I miss some dialogue or something? And you could hear me talking into my PlayStation controller and going, what? Because that doesn't make any sense at all what the characters are talking about.
So cool.
And then this witch character leans onto your shoulder, and it's like, that's supposed to be like a moment between the two of them. It's like, that doesn't make any narrative sense. What does she mean? Why did you break up? What is, I saw you or me and all the faces and people that I met. This flowery nonsense. I just don't get it.
Well, I if I could, I'd like to translate it for you.
Oh, please do.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, okay.
Star Wars is bad.
Okay.
It's pretty basic, paint by the numbers stuff.
Yeah.
It's bad at writing. It's bad at telling stories. It's bad at a lot of things. Hey, real good at those lightsaber sound effects, though, huh?
Can't complain about that.
Can't beat those.
I mean, you hear those sound effects a lot in the game.
Yeah.
It's great every time.
Every single time, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, so the narrative isn't great other than the really cool character arc and character growth stuff that you go through. That's cool. And there's also, I won't spoil it, there are some really epic reveals in the game. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Some really epic reveals of people and things from the Star Wars universe. The first game had it towards the end of the game. The second game has it as well. And it actually is worth playing just sort of to get those reveals. That's really cool. Otherwise, though, the narrative is not great.
It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
So as we wind things down here, two things we'll accomplish here, and we'll go with the easy one first. Give us your impressions of this game holistically,
Sure,
as it relates to the other Star Wars games, and be brief, please, because I have another thing to get to before we wrap up. Shooter.
The game is good.
Okay.
You have to have your expectations set correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something like, if I was scoring, I'd score like an 86. It's not quite as good as the reviews are, notwithstanding the bugs and things like that. It's just, if you want an open world, you want like an okay-ish narrative, you want to feel like you're a Jedi for a little bit, it's fine. It's good. The things that I liked. Things I didn't like. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
So that then parlays right into my final question here. Does this do anything for you in terms of elevate Star Wars fandom? Like, are you less jaded, more jaded? Does it do anything at all to move that needle for you in Star Wars fandom in general?
No.
Okay. So that's where that's where I thought that would go. So okay, it's cool. I think it's cool that this game is out and people are enjoying it. And I shit on Star Wars all the time, and it's going to continue to happen. But like, obviously, if you like it, that's I like dumb shit too. It's cool. Like, it's fine.
We call those backhanded compliments, Brian.
Yes, that's what those are. But I think my point. I think this game is it's still in that spot for me where like I might play this a couple years down the road if I have nothing else to do and it's there. For me, easily accessible and for no money, maybe. Yeah. But again, like, and I want to close with this, going with Star Wars in general as a media, as a whole thing. Like, it's crazy to me, that we live in an era where there's so much Star Wars shit out there, too much Star Wars shit out there, that even something that's, as you put it, professionally, good, that a good Star Wars thing can be out there, and I have no interest in it. couldn't be bothered.
A big part of the game too, I should have said this, is customization.
Yeah.
So if you're into like customizing lightsabers, and at least in my circle, a disturbingly large amount of time has been spent by people I know just customizing their lightsabers. And you can do like the dual wielded lightsaber. You can do you're holding 2 single bladed lightsabers.
Yeah.
You can even do the lightsaber with the flames coming out of the side, like the guy in episode 7 did. So the customization part of this game is worth the price of admission for some people, and it helps make up for a lot of the gameplay flaws. Although maybe not all of them. I would say this is a good, safe game. Maybe safe is the right word. Good, safe game for what it
Good,
is.
safe game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for more good and safe, friendly content.
Yeah, that's what we do here.
That's what we do around here. So thanks for watching. If I personally offended you as a Star Wars fan, I apologize, but I will change nothing about that. And so, as always, when we remember it at least, a gentleman's handshake.
Gentleman's
Here we
handshake.
go.